The roof actually opened in Milwaukee at 46 degrees. You're muted.
Yeah, good. I was like snorting and sniffling. All sorts of other nonsense. A fire open for the show. We are live for multiple seconds of me being muted. What's going on, everybody? April 17th, Wednesday slate. A little bit of a split slate. Got a 3-game early on FanDuel, 4-game early on DK. FanDuel locks again at 6:30. DraftKings lock at 7. So should be a fun mix of everything. I am feeling significantly better than I did the past 2 days, so that's exciting. I might actually be able to remember to enter my lineups today. Adam, how you feeling today? You ready for a nice Wednesday slate?
Yeah, I feel like this is the most energy I've had in a few days. Miami kind of just took it out of me.
That makes
a
a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was as lame as I possibly could be in Miami and took it easy the whole time, but still just exhausted. I'm excited to get going.
Alrighty. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. All you have to do is enter the promo code when signing up, and you can have access to everything if you'd like. An all-access membership can be used with that promo code. You can get baseball, basketball, hockey, tennis, golf, NASCAR, MMA. The list goes on and on. Actually, that might be the entire list. You guys know what I mean. So sign up now. Like and subscribe. Liking is awesome. Subscribing even better for you. You'll know exactly when we go live on YouTube every day. Why wouldn't you want that information? Makes it a lot easier. And now we are brought to you by Yahoo Sports. I will be dropping a link into the channel. But Yahoo is our presenting sponsor now. Couldn't be happier to have them. They are, in my opinion, and I believe in most of our opinions, the first place that most people should be entering their entry fees in a given day. You're going to find softer competition, 10 max, so you're not up against 150 other lineups from some of the top pros. It's just going to be a much easier experience, and they offer contests that have no management fees whatsoever. You'll never find a better tournament to enter in the entire industry. So shout out to Yahoo for being willing to sponsor us. At some point in time, I will get to actually adding this link like I said I would. Here it comes. So if you're looking to sign up, please use the link that I'm dropping into chat. This will help us more than you would ever know, everybody. This is the key for us. Link is in the chat. Use the promo code AWESEMO. You'll get $30 in, I'm not going to remember the acronym right now, Yahoo Sports Fantasy Points. Am I getting that right, do you think? Do you have any idea? Sounds like it could be right.
I'm not going to act like I wasn't sending messages on Twitter while you were talking.
That's fair. I can't. I have nothing else to say there. Alrighty. Here we go. We're going to tackle every single game, so we've got 14 to go through. Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a ride. First game on the docket, Phillies and Mets. 4.9 run implied total for the Phillies, 4.6 for the Mets. The 52% chance to win for the Phils. Jake Arrieta going for Philadelphia. Zach Wheeler going for the Mets. Zach Wheeler, at least on the early slate, grading out really well for me. He's the guy that's coming up the most. I'm not really getting to much Arrieta. How do you feel about Wheeler?
I like his talent. I hate the matchup, obviously, against a good Philadelphia team, but there's at least a chance that we don't get Real Muto in the lineup today with the day game after the night game, and Wheeler's price tag's dropping, so that makes him appealing as well. Like, he hasn't been particularly good to start the season, but the guy still throws ridiculously hard. He has really good stuff. And once someone's price tag, like when you're normally an 8,500 9K pitcher and your price tag gets down into like the mid-6 range, I kind of just start to bank on talent. Coming off of a nice start against Atlanta, 8 strikeouts in 6 innings. So, I'm fine getting the Wheeler just because of the price tag.
Any interest in Arrieta?
I almost never have interest in Arrieta. I mean, obviously on a 4-game slate, it's okay, but I don't really feel the need to pay more money for Jake Arrieta than for Wheeler, even though the matchup's a little better. Arrieta just doesn't get a lot of swings and misses unless you're talking about facing the Marlins. And the Mets, I think, actually have a pretty good offense. It's a positive park shift for the Mets. I don't. It's not that I think he's a bad play on a 3 or 4 game slate, but I don't have a ton of interest.
Yeah, I have Wheeler projected higher than Arrieta, so I'm naturally going to go to the guy that's cheaper on FanDuel and DK. On Yahoo, Wheeler actually is $6 more than Arrieta, so it's a it's a little bit tighter on a dollar for dollar basis, but I really like getting to Wheeler here. Side note, unrelated to this particular slate, now that we see Chris Sale's velocity at 95 and a half, can we like kind of calm down?
Oh, he didn't get. I didn't look into any of his stuff yesterday. I just saw how many runs the Yankees scored, and I assumed that he died again.
Six Ks, one walk. He gave up a dong.
Oh, so it was like off the bullpen.
Seven. Well, no, he gave. So I think he gave up like 4 or 5 runs or something like that.
Yeah.
But 6 Ks, one walk, 95 and a half mile an hour velocity on the fastball.
Average or max?
Average.
Okay, because I know he was getting it up there in the start before too, until he couldn't anymore because he was just throwing like max effort in the first inning.
Per Fangraphs game log, at least they have it listed at 95 and a half.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I still think there's something wrong with him, but
yeah, there might be, but at least we can, we don't have to just think like, oh, 3 games, he's velocity's 90, he can never be a good pitcher for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Just some of the ridiculous stances we're taking.
No.
He's just cold,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he'd never be good again. I just think he's.
I'm not pointing this towards you. I don't.
No.
Like
I'm on the side of like I wasn't touching Chris. I wouldn't have touched Chris Sale with a 10-foot pole, and I was stacking against him.
Yeah. Well, not if he's going to be 28% owned or whatever. Like that was just super silly.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's a disabled list stint in his near future.
There might be. Look, if you're going to bump back up to 95 and a half, I understand that he gave up some runs, but to only allow 1 walk and to strike out 6, like that's certainly a trend in the right direction. I don't care where the hits went.
Yeah, no question there.
Yeah, James Paxton, on the other hand, that was legit.
I didn't see what he did, but I've rostered him like every day this year, and he's sucked every time. So
he had like 70 FanDuel points.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not too shabby. So the Mets stack for me is grading out as my best option on the 3-gamer in the morning. I obviously don't have the Dodgers and Reds as a part of it, so that I don't know how well they look on DK. But how do you feel about the Mets here?
I like it. Arrieta, I don't think he's bad. He's pretty good at limiting damage for the most part. But there are power bats in this Mets lineup with Conforto and Nimmo and Alonso and Cano and all these guys. I don't know if Ramos will be in the lineup or not. Again, with it being a day game after a night game, but if he's in there, that's a reasonable power bat at the catcher position as well. And Arrieta just doesn't miss bats, and it's a favorable park for hitters. So I do think that short slate and guys with power, I'll go to the Mets here.
Yeah, I got a ton of Cano since he's still just stupidly priced across all 3 sites. I can't really understand it, but I'm happy to go there. Only guys that I'm not getting to in the projected lineup for right now are Ahmed Rosario and JD Davis, and that shouldn't be terribly shocking to anyone. I know that I'm going to have more Mets on the early slate than anybody else. Peter Alonso grading out fantastic, only 4,400. I think that's a pretty nice price tag. Anybody you want to point out from Philly, or do you find Philly more interesting?
I mean, I find them interesting just because they're a really good offense. But Wheeler does a really good job in particular of limiting hard contact to right-handed hitters. I think that if anyone gets to him, and this isn't shocking, but I would guess it's Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
But yeah, much more interested in the Mets side. The only way that would change, and I haven't looked at projected ownership yet, but if Wheeler is projected for a ton of ownership and the Phillies are projected for none, like I don't feel strongly enough that I would be still staying away from the Phillies.
Okay. Just want to get your take on a little debate we had yesterday. If you were comparing Mike Trout and Christian Yelich as hitters, who would you say is better?
There's no comparison. It's Trout.
Okay, just checking.
Is Christian Yelich the new Mookie Betts?
Apparently, Christian Yelich is the new Mike Trout.
Like people think he's better than Betts last year. People were like, "Oh, he's better than Trout." He's not.
Yeah, it's craziness. That does not invalidate Yelich either.
Yelich is phenomenal. Mike Trout is the best hitter aside from maybe Barry Bonds in the history of baseball.
Yes. This is a very true statement. That's all. Had to get that out there.
Now you have me like on Fangraphs looking at them.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're going to come to the same conclusion no matter what you look
I
at.
mean, I already know the conclusion. I just want to see like the actual numbers.
Yeah, it's craziness.
So where'd it go? I feel like there's a good chance that Yelich's best career season. Yeah, so Yelich had a 166 WRC plus last season. I'm pretty sure Trout did that when he was like a rookie.
I would have, if I had to guess, I would have said that he's been better than that in every year of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's got some like 180s in there.
Yeah, it's insanity. I mean, he's an inner circle Hall of Famer already.
He could retire right now and he'd be first ballot. If Rivera was unanimous, Trout would have to be unanimous.
You would think. Well, I mean, people are dumb like that. Yeah.
Mike Trout's career WRC plus is 7 points higher than Christian Yelich's MVP season.
Oh God.
Mike Trout's my memory on stuff like this is crazy sometimes. Mike Trout's first full season was 2012. His WRC plus was 167. Yelich last season was 166.
Yeah. We were told that Yelich is going to fill out since he's young. They are the same age.
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking Yelich, last season at 166. Trout's best career WRC plus was 191 in 2018.
Yeah. I mean, look at just 16, 17, 18. 170, 181, 191. He's had 2 10-war seasons with 3 more in the 9s. The dude is bonkers. Bonkers.
There's just no comparison to Mike Trout.
And what's really crazy is Bonds makes him look like he sucks.
Yeah, Bonds, I never really, I mean, obviously I appreciated how good Bonds was, but like not in the context of everything because I was, like 11 when he hit the 73 homers or whatever. But going back and looking at his numbers, because like one time I was just comparing him to Trout, I went back and looked and it was just like, this is like the craziest thing I've ever seen.
4 straight years, 2001 to 2004. 235, 244, 212, 233. Those are weighted runs created plus.
Yeah, that's absolutely absurd.
And I believe that those years he's like 39 to 43 or something.
Right.
I don't care about the gas, people.
Don't care at all.
No.
Especially when you're especially in this context, when you're talking about guys from different eras. Like, okay, let's say we assume Mike Trout is completely clean, which I have no idea. But the access to like training regimens and stuff that Trout has that Bonds didn't, like Trout has an edge there. So it's not like you're just comparing like two guys with the same exact program and one of them's like juiced up and the other one isn't.
Yeah. And we're not acting like Bonds is the only part, like as if pitchers didn't get steroids as well.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk for like a half hour on that subject and
yeah. He's amazing. I love it. Oh God. All right. Had to get that out of the way. I got a ton of Harper. Surprise, surprise. A little bit of McCutchen. That's about it. I'm going to end up playing a lot of Mets, which certainly doesn't make me feel good because they're the Mets, but I'm cool with it.
Another kind of under the radar aspect of the matchup for the Mets, especially if Real Muto sits. Arrieta's not as bad at holding runners as he used to be, but you can still run on him to some extent. And the guys on the Mets that you wouldn't be as interested in, like the Ahmed Rosario, Keon Broxton types, they can run.
No, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
If Real Muto's in, it becomes much less appealing.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody else you want to point out here? I'm trying to see if there's any prices that look like really advantageous.
No, I don't think so. Segura's listed as questionable. If he sits, that like if Segura becomes Kingery, that's a big upgrade for Wheeler.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of strikeouts and in terms of just easy outs.
I have him in right now, but I know that he left last night's game early, so stands to reason that if you're playing the next day, you're probably not going to play. But
yeah,
I don't make lineup guesses in the morning. This isn't the NBA.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to. It's just like that's the spot that you could very easily see an obvious change coming.
Yeah, and like I'm already getting a crap ton of Zach Wheeler, so it's just icing on the cake. Brewers and Cardinals, 4.8 run implied total for the Brewers, 4.3 for the Cardinals. It's a 55% chance to win for Milwaukee. Corbin Burns going for the Brewers. Michael Wacha going for St. Louis. I have no interest whatsoever in Wacha. I'm actually getting to a little bit of Corbin Burns. Is he a guy you think you'll end up on today?
No question.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, really fairly priced on the two pitcher sites, 6,800 on DraftKings, $29 on Yahoo, and this guy can't get out lefties to save his life. I don't even mind, like, if you're playing Corbin Burns, play Matt Carpenter too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But he has a really good slider that so far this season against righties has a 36.5% swinging strike percentage. Since coming to the majors last year, it's at 32.3%. Since coming to the majors last season, and again, this is mostly out of the bullpen because he wasn't a starter last year, but 20.9% swinging strike percentage against righties. He is just a very heavy splits guy. And while there are a lot of very good righties in the Cardinals lineup with Goldschmidt and DeYoung, Ozuna's obviously good, Molina's good for a catcher, they're still right-handed, and Burns' stuff against guys from this side of the plate is just absolutely nasty, and you're not paying a premium for him. So, yeah, I'm right there. I would expect that a large percentage of my lineups on DraftKings are Burns plus, Wheeler.
Yeah. I got 26% of him on FanDuel. Now, obviously, I only have 6 starting options, but he's my second most exposed pitcher as of right now behind Wheeler. It's a little scary because I think the Cardinals are good, but I think he's clearly the best option. Just under 9 Ks per 9 via steamer, a 4.3 FIP. I mean, honestly, he just looks like a slightly better Michael Wacha with maybe less innings potential.
I mean, totally different pitchers too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're just generic stat line profile. Slightly higher Ks per 9, very similar walk rate, very similar FIP.
Yeah, Wacha can't get out righties, and Corbin can't get out lefties.
Yeah, different ingredients, but same meal cooked somehow. That's a fucking terrible analogy. Oh my god. So I got 70% Matt Carpenter, even if you're getting to Burns. I have no problem using a hitter coming back against my pitcher on a 3-game slate or even a 4-game slate. And a lefty leading off is always going to be appealing, especially when they're good, like Matt Carpenter. I feel like he's perpetually underpriced too.
Yeah, he's just like stuck right now across the industry at a really low price tag. I don't really know why.
Yeah, I feel like that happened last year too, where he got into the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
Like 80% of the time he's getting a righty on the hill and he's leading off, and that's like the most advantageous spot you can have. I mean, he's basically like a cash game lock constantly.
Yeah. Yep. And a good tournament play. I mean,
yeah, because it's not like he's not also good. Projects for a 200 ISO. Like
I forget. There are a lot of times where I forget until like I have to write about him in the deep dive, like exactly how good he is. When I go back and look at his actual numbers, I'm like, I knew Matt Carpenter was a good hitter, and I knew I wanted to play him, but my god,
he's been good for a long time. Too.
Yeah,
and it's just like completely no one cares.
Oh yeah, because it was just like, one, he's on the Cardinals, so like it's hard to get like hype there. But he went from being like that utility guy to suddenly being just an absolute monster. And I don't know, like for me, it was always like, oh, Matt Carpenter, like whatever, like he's just a guy. And then he just kept being a lot better than just a guy.
Yeah. And now 123 weighted runs created plus in the leadoff spot. They're setting him up pretty good.
Also favorable for Burns, and it's what I mentioned, I think, as we were going live. I haven't seen it confirmed, but if they have the roof open here for some unknown reason and it's 46 degrees, that would be favorable for pitching. I don't know why they would.
We just got ownership, so I'm going to grab that now. Yeah, that sounds like it's really unappealing.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to double check it at other places.
Like if you're in that game and you're just like, yo, you say you go ahead and close that, man.
Right.
This sucks. I'd freak out if I were supposed to play today and they were like, no, we're going to keep it open.
I wouldn't even think about
to play baseball in the cold. Yeah. It's not fun.
Playing baseball in the cold is miserable.
It's
like, awful. Growing up on the East Coast, like, Yeah, it's so bad.
Like the first
Or
month
not, I
and a
mean, not
half of
East Coast, but like
practices
Mid
where
Atlantic.
where you start practicing in like late February in the gym and then you can't go outside because there's snow.
Yeah, yep. And then you do get outside, and it's like 35 degrees, and you're like wearing like so many layers, you can barely
Yeah.
throw, and it hurts to throw, and yeah, it's not fun.
And it's not like you're playing pickup basketball and there's constant motion. You can
Right,
get over the cold.
right.
You might stand still for 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Eyes are watering.
Yeah,
Hitting's
it's
fun.
everything
When you get
hurts when you do it.
yeah,
Swinging,
yeah,
catching balls.
when you get jammed as a hitter, you just want to like go cut your hands off.
You just want to walk to your car.
Yeah.
I'm good, coach. I'm out. I don't give a shit anymore. Oh god, yeah. Playing baseball on the East Coast is miserable. Then you get that one snowstorm that comes like 3 weeks after you thought it was going to be over.
Yep.
Coach
And
is like,
then
"Well, we're going to still take BP." Coach, it's soaking wet on the field. Doesn't
right.
matter. We're taking BP. Cool, cool. My feet are numb.
Yeah. We luckily we had an indoor facility when I was in high school, so we at least avoided like that kind of stuff. But
We would just play in our gym on the basketball court.
we would do that too. But like across the street, we had like batting cages and indoor pitching mounds and stuff.
We had one cage in the gym, but we just did a lot of drills and like station work.
Yeah.
It's
But
awful.
yeah, playing in the cold is just miserable.
The only upside to having practice inside was that we would play a game called Cheek to Cheek, where we would line up across, like, let's just say half court of the basketball court, and you'd have a person behind you, and you were like butt to butt, and then you'd have one person basically under each basket with a tee, and everybody they're just firing balls off the tee at you, and you're just kind of like trying to stop everything and not let it hit the dude behind you. But more often than not, we would just Olay ground balls like Roger Dorn and let it crack the dude in the back.
Right. It sounds like a really productive practice that I would want no part of.
Horrible. There's no reason we should do it, and we did it constantly. There was no upside, only downside. I have no idea why our coach let us do it. We did it for weeks. Good times.
But yeah, so I mean,
All right, back to
if the
defense.
roof, I still can't find the answer, but if the roof is open, it's favorable for pitching here.
Yeah, for sure. 31% expected ownership to Burns on DK right now.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are going to be high. There aren't that many options.
Yeah.
23% on FanDuel, which kind of bumps me out. I was hoping to be a little different there. What are you going to do? If we want to talk about guys that are standing out, Carpenter is at 49% ownership on FanDuel, 29 on DK. I think that's pretty appealing. Pretty balanced exposure to both sides. A little bit more coming to the Brewers, which is not super shocking. And I'm speaking from DK on this one. If you're stacking up this game, I assume you greatly prefer the Brewers.
Yeah, because I think Michael Wacha sucks. He's better against lefties, but these are a lot of really good lefties. So I would prefer the Brewers. The flip side to that is again, 4-game slate with high ownership on a pitcher in Burns who can give up some bombs. So a lot of good hitters in the Cardinals lineup. Also, so I found if you go to the Milwaukee Brewers like website, there's a page for the roof status where it tells you all about the roof, and then it says roof status for today's game. For roof status, call Miller Park Roof Hotline. You can't just post it on a website like it's 2019.
All right, well, here's what we'll do. I'll keep talking about Brewers Cardinals. You get on the horn with the Brewers and let me know if that roof is shut.
Yeah.
If favorite Brewers bat?
Other than Mike Trout Jr.?
Mike Trout Jr. Yelich might be older than him.
I mean, it's obviously Yelich, but outside of that, I would say Ryan Braun just because he's got right-handed power and
Yeah.
Wacha. Also, don't sleep on Aguilar, especially because it is the small slate and any like ownership edge you can get is big. He hasn't been hitting the ball as hard. He hasn't been striking out as much, and that's not really a trade-off that we like in DFS. But he's also really, really, really cheap, and he at least in theory has power from the right side against Wacha. So I think that's a pretty sneaky play, like towards the bottom of the order that people won't really go to, probably.
I like that call. On DK, I have Yelich, Braun, and Moustakas as like relative equals on a dollar for dollar basis. Ryan Braun is 2,900 on FanDuel. Yelich is 52. Moustakas is 42. That is just a bargain for Braun.
Yeah.
If you're trying to pay for just like the potential for home runs.
Yeah, no question there.
Yeah, I got 64% of him on my first run, so I'm not upset. Anything else we should point out here? No real crazy value guys on Yahoo for either the Brewers or the Cardinals. Aguilar at $11 is probably the most appealing. I do like the Brewers as like a Braun, Moustakas, Shaw, Aguilar stack. That's a pretty good stack really anywhere. Nobody really standing out from an ownership perspective on the Cards. Waka at 1% ownership on FanDuel, 6% on DK. Is that craziness? Like I agree with you. I don't care for Waka all that much. On a 3-game slate on FanDuel, is it insane to have Michael Waka be only 1%?
It's probably too low. I mean,
like I assume that it comes in at like 3 or 4 or whatever,
right.
But like,
yeah,
there's probably a set number for everyone that at least is functional. I mean, we could not like Waka, but he's like a league average-ish pitcher.
Right. Yeah. It's lower than it should be. It's not like he should be 20%. But
Yeah.
He should probably come in at like 10 to 12.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
thinking
I
about
don't know about
correctly.
FanDuel like with the one pitcher, but probably still. DraftKings, I would say you should come in at like 10 to 12.
Yeah, I would have to look at a sim quick and just see like how often, if you run 10,000 simulations of 6 guys, how often everybody gets to the top.
Yeah.
Because the answer in baseball is certainly some sort of percentage for everyone.
Yeah.
Not Brewers like Jose Calderon is going to put up 80 in the NBA.
Right, exactly. Brewers do have the highest implied run total, which was kind of just surprising to see because normally Vegas likes Waka more than I do.
We good?
Yep.
White Sox and Royals. 4.4 run implied total for the White Sox, 4.2 for the Royals, 52% chance to win for the Sox. Lucas Giolito going for Chicago, Brad Keller going for Kansas City. I got a little bit of Giolito. He's at 32% ownership on DK. I did not get to any Brad Keller on FanDuel. He's at 24% there, 22% on DK, where he has $8,500 price tag on both sites. On Yahoo, Giolito $31, Keller $39. Who stands out to you from a pitching perspective here? Is it the Enigma Lucas Giolito or Brad Keller?
I mean, I'm never looking to pay $2K more for Keller than I am for Giolito.
Sure.
As much as I respect Keller, like his ability to prevent runs, I know he racked up like 10 strikeouts the other day. That's not who I think he is. Normally, he's not really that kind of guy. But it is a matchup where, sure, he can get some more strikeouts here against Chicago. We just saw Jorge Lopez do it last night. But Giolito just has the talent where when he's able to throw strikes and he's able to do what he wants to do with the ball, that he can put up big games. So I just roster cheap talent at pitcher in tournaments pretty much every day. So I think the price tag is lower than it really should be on Giolito. The fastball velocity has been good this year. The movement's been good. It's just a matter of results. But he has had a couple of difficult matchups, one against Seattle, one against the Yankees, in 2 of his 3 starts. So I think this is he's already faced Kansas City once, and I think that this is again an easier matchup than those other 2 games were.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Grades out really nicely. Basically, everyone on DK is getting ownership except for Sonny Gray and Waka. Everybody else is in like either the 20s or the 30s.
Yeah.
But I see no reason why you wouldn't want to pay all the way down for Giolito, particularly in a matchup against the Royals, who strike out quite a bit, or at least project to. I think that Giolito was about to face the Royals last year when we did that like hour-long deep dive, and he went out and got annihilated.
That sounds right.
We're like, oh, well, like things are turning around. He's got a perfect matchup. They strike out a ton, and he went out and walked like 7 in an inning in the 3rd.
Yeah.
Love that dude.
So one thing that, again, it's interesting to me, and it's only 3 games, and because situations dictate this so much, it's hard to really take anything away from it. But Giolito has not allowed a stolen base yet this year. Last year he allowed 26, and it was a really, really big thing. And obviously, when you're talking about Kansas City, that's the team that looks to run.
Yeah.
Giolito's like wind-up's not the right word. Delivery is shorter this year. Like his arm motion's shorter. I don't know if that will lead to him being better at holding runners or not. But
this will be a good test.
Yeah. They didn't steal on in the first game, but again, they had like no base runners. So it's when you're talking about 16 innings, like so much fluky stuff can happen for why nobody's stolen on him. But it is something that I kind of just want to try and keep an eye on.
Yeah, because it's not like Merrifield or Mondesi or Billy Hamilton are going to be like, oh, can't steal on them.
Right.
Like they're going. So we should learn a lot, actually.
Yeah.
If they can get on.
And for that reason, while I do like Giolito, I think that Kansas City stacks are really good here because, for one, you can just get Giolito getting lit up. That happens.
Yeah.
You potentially get stolen base upside from these guys. Like they're going to try and run regardless if they get on base, you would think. So I do think that they have a lot of upside here in lineups where I have like Burns and someone that isn't Giolito, or Burns, Wheeler, or something like that.
Yeah, I have like pretty split ownership on the Royals right now. Merrifield, Mondesi, Soler, O'Hearn, and Duda are kind of the only guys that I'm getting to. Seems to be the same story for the public, unfortunately. What Royals bat stands out most to you?
Mondesi number 1, Merrifield number 2.
Mondesi 3,900 on FanDuel today.
That's a good price, right?
Yeah, very.
Yeah. 5K on DraftKings. I don't even care. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, like I don't mind Ryan O'Hearn at 3,200. The guy is really frustrating to watch. It's kind of like watching Chris Davis, but he has power and he's really cheap. It's a 4-game slate, 3-game slate, depending on the site. Billy Hamilton, if Giolito is still going to allow a bunch of stolen bases, obviously Hamilton's going to run. So, you can get creative with guys like that, but Mondesi and Merrifield, as always, are the priorities.
Yeah. If you're on FanDuel, I would prioritize Luke Duda over O'Hearn, both first basemen. O'Hearn 3,300, Duda 2,500. So just gonna get more for your dollar, I think. Just the same amount of power, if not more. Probably a slightly better hitter, and you save $800 if you need it. It doesn't strike me as a slate where you might, but if you want. I think he's a little bit better. It's only $9 on Yahoo, where O'Hearn is $19. That's Luke Duda is the best play on the Royals on Yahoo, I think. Everybody else is up in the 20s.
Yeah, I agree.
White Sox side. Nobody really standing out. No one's getting a ton of steam in ownership outside of Palka on FanDuel, projected to hit 8th, flat minimum.
Not in the lineup.
Is it out?
Yeah.
Cool. Just came out, I guess. Oh, and there's the Mets lineup.
Luis Garcia, Moncada, Abreu, Alonso, Jimenez, Anderson, James McCann, Yolmer Sanchez, Adam Engel. Pretty nice lineup for Brad Keller if you're into paying for Brad Keller.
Yeah, for sure.
I would put Keller ahead of Jake Arrieta.
I agree. Alrighty, let me get that White Sox lineup in. Let me get that Mets lineup in as well.
Also, $4,300 on DraftKings for Yohan Moncada is an absolute joke. Like I don't know how he dropped $500 in the last day or two, but he's not looking at called third strikes anymore. He's still hitting the hell out of the ball. So I do like him.
Let me take a look at it quick. I just updated all those lineups, so now I've got some holes in my stuff. And good. Yeah, grades out really nicely for me on both FanDuel and DK. I'm going to cough really loud. Give me a second.
Okay. I'll just double back real quick. Keller is not someone that I normally like to pick on, and the bottom of the White Sox lineup is really bad, which gives Keller upside. But I don't mind in tournaments going to some Chicago bats. I mentioned Moncada, but you have really nice price tags on Jose Abreu, Yonder Alonso, and Jimenez as well.
Oh, that was a really aggressive cough. Yeah, I like the White Sox. I don't love them, but there are a couple individual bats that I'm fine with.
I would like them more if there was like expensive pitching that I felt like I needed to pay for.
That's a really good point.
Or expensive one-offs that I felt like I needed to pay for.
Circling back to the Mets now. I was already getting a ton of them. I think that I might get more. JD Davis up to the 5 hole. It's kind of interesting. $9 third baseman on Yahoo. I think that's pretty appealing.
This is a nice lineup for Arrieta.
Yeah. 22% aggregate K rate for this game, so there is some swing and miss there.
Yeah, I mean, no Brandon Nimmo makes a difference. There's someone else. Oh, no Brandon Nimmo, no Wilson Ramos. So that's 2 of the top 6 hitters normally that are out.
Yeah.
you replace, JD Davis is a 25% strikeout guy. Keon Broxton's a 30% strikeout guy.
You
If
might even
Arrieta,
be light with that number.
yeah. If
38 via steamer.
38?
Yeah.
My God. Yeah. If he can just navigate his way through those top four, he can have some success towards the bottom. So I had just said that I like Keller more than Arrieta, but now I'm going to go ahead and bump Arrieta back up too, because both of them got pretty appealing lineups.
Yep. I have Arrieta projected for 5.5 strikeouts now. I have Keller projected for 4.8.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Head to the Dodgers and Reds, I guess.
Yeah.
4.8 run implied total for the Dodgers, 3.7 for the Reds, 61% chance to win for LA. Walker Buehler on the hill for the Dodgers, Sonny Gray going for Cincinnati. I have very little interest in Sonny Gray. And Walker Buehler, I think pretty clearly the best starting pitcher on the early slate, but
Is he?
Isn't he?
I don't know. I've never been totally sold on Walker Buehler. And he's been trash this season.
Okay, maybe not pretty clearly. Who's the other option?
For best pitcher?
Yeah. And I'm not talking about like for today in fantasy.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler.
Okay. Yeah, I have Buehler projected for a lot of points, high ceiling. But I didn't get to him because he's not on the FanDuel slate. I was about to use that information like it was real. I was like, he's got a 0 in his ownership column. Not a part of the early slate on FanDuel, folks. Ignore me there. Grades out nicely on DK, 9,300. Projected for 38% ownership. This Reds team, though, does not strike out. If this projected lineup holds, there's not a lot of strikeouts to be found here. How do you feel about Buehler then? I guess not that enthusiastic about him.
I mean, I'm going to roster him because there's limited options and because he has the pedigree and people smarter than me think he's good. And I don't think he's bad. I just think he's overhyped. I don't think he's as good as a lot of people think he is.
That's fair.
But at the same time, if he's going to be really popular as an expensive pitcher, I'll take some Joey Votto. I'll take some Schebler. I'll take some inexpensive Jesse Winker. Suarez is really good. Puig's a good hitter. I mean, it's not like it's a pushover lineup. And the guys that aren't good hitters like Peraza and Iglesias, like you said, they don't strike out. So, it can be a very annoying team to take a pitcher against. I think that I'll probably have more, assuming that everyone's on Buehler and nobody's on the Reds, I'll probably have a little bit more exposure to some of the power hitting Reds bats than the field does.
This is going to be fun. The guy that thinks Christian Yelich is better than Mike Trout also thinks that Wheeler isn't in play.
Okay.
I think we're getting really trolled bad and I'm biting too hard.
This is why MLB DFS is the most profitable sport.
That's a really good point. Never really thought about it like that. Yeah, I wish that Buehler was available on FanDuel. Unfortunately, not in that early slate. If you're playing the all day, I don't know. Do what you need to do. From a bats perspective, I think Puig is fine at 3,700 on DraftKings. Votto is Joey Votto. I'm not terribly interested in the Reds. How are you feeling about the Dodgers here against Sonny Gray?
I want to get to some Sonny Gray.
Really?
I'm just a huge Sonny Gray fan. And I think that at 7,400, I would roster him against pretty much anyone, especially outside of Great American.
I like him. He just doesn't pitch long enough.
Well, last game he got hurt.
That is not my reference point.
Okay, well, I was expecting I thought there was a chance that I was going to say, yes, he does, and you were going to say, he just pitched 4 innings.
Oh, no. But, what is it? Over the past calendar year, he's averaged 4.9 innings per start.
Okay, you can't look at that because he was absolutely terrible with the Yankees, who also had a really, really good bullpen and no incentive to let him go once he got, one guy on base in the 5th.
Okay,
so
4.9 is still really low, even though that's the case.
The guy had, a 15% walk percentage in starts in Yankee Stadium and was like had the shortest leash ever. And is that just his starts? Because they were using him out of the bullpen too.
Yes, just his starts.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with him being able to get deep in the games here for Cincinnati. It's my only issue with him here is the Dodgers are really, really
I
good.
was going to say that might be the issue.
Yeah, I'm hoping Bellinger doesn't play again, or at least my Sonny Gray shares are hoping Bellinger doesn't play again. I'm kind of assuming he doesn't. Like he sat out yesterday with the knee injury. Why not give him like another full day off here? But we'll see there. It's not like Verdugo's bad anyway. Justin Turner expected back in the lineup. It's a tough matchup for him, no question. But you mentioned that he had no ownership. I don't feel that much. I like Wheeler a lot, but I don't feel like Wheeler against the Phillies is some like can't miss spot, or Sonny Gray against the Dodgers is a complete stay away. Especially when one game's in LA and one game's in Philly.
I agree with the ownership, but I also agree with what you just said, which is
Yeah.
It seems like it would be incorrect, but yeah, I don't see it as a complete stay away. He does have good stuff. There is a little. It's really going to depend on what this Dodgers lineup looks like.
Yeah,
if he's getting, 4 lefties of high quality and just this sea of above average or better hitters, it's terrifying. And the implied run total tells that tale too. Like I think 6%, probably a hair too low, but also super correct. Like I really do think that he should be one of the lowest owned guys on the slate for DK.
Yeah, I'll be pretty surprised if I don't. If he's 6% owned, I'd be pretty surprised if I'm not like triple the field on DK.
Okay, he's gonna go out there and smash. So at least we'll get a cool soundbite out of it.
And it's not. I mean, so cut the soundbite off there because it's not me being super confident in Gray in this matchup. Like the Dodgers are good, and Gray is still an enigma that I just believe in for I don't know, reasons that may or may not be true. But but I mean it's just, 4-game slate and Sonny Gray $7,400. And again, talent wise, I believe in this guy's talent. I think that he is good. And so I'll take it if nobody else wants it.
Okay. Apparently it's all yours.
Yeah.
Favorite bat on the Dodgers?
If Bellinger is in, Bellinger. If Bellinger is out, then looking at price, Seager or Pollock, like AJ Pollock should never be $3,700 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean that's a really ridiculous $3K on FanDuel. Those are both really crazy. The answer for me on the Dodgers is always Jock, and I feel like he doesn't ever get talked about.
Your answer is always Jock over Bellinger?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Leadoff spot, incredibly valuable for me. They have the exact same weighted runs created plus via Steamer. They have the exact same ISO via Steamer. So I get
lower strikeout rate for Jock too.
Basically the same. 21 and 22 is what Steamer has it at.
Okay, I thought Jock was even lower than
that. One of those guys is perpetually $400 to $500 cheaper than the other, and gets without question like an extra half a plate appearance every game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I love Jock. Like I play a ton of Jock, so it wasn't me like
he's like Matt Carpenter for me. He's a lefty at the top of an order that I feel like I get all the time, and it makes me feel stupid.
Yeah. No, I mean I get a ton of Jock too. Bellinger's like one of my favorite hitters.
Yeah. Now again, this is not to say that like Cody Bellinger grades out as some like garbage, but he grades out as a lesser than option because their projected lines are relatively similar, and I have you gain a lot of additional plate appearances by hitting 3 spots higher in the order. People like it's massive. I have Peterson in for 4.7 plate appearances today. Bellinger for 4.2. Like that extra half of plate appearance is worth a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah. Jock gets pinch hit for more though, I think.
Probably true. That is a really good piece to point out. That's incredibly relevant.
But yeah, Dodgers obviously upside stack. Sonny Gray can implode with the best of them.
Yeah, they need to change this order up. I hate going lefty off the top. You set yourself up to to see a lefty reliever in like the 6th inning.
Yeah, but Seager and Bellinger can both hit them, so it doesn't matter, and so can Verdugo.
I just hate knowing that like there's a natural pivot spot that you give to the other team.
And that's why Jock gets pinch hit for, by the way.
Yeah. I know. It's like it's just frustrating. I'm really weird about like staggered lineups. I played way too much OOTP on the computer, building that shit out manually.
Yeah,
I can't do it. It drives me bonkers.
No, in general, I agree with like the lefty thing because most lefties are just so freaking bad against lefties. But Seager and Bellinger are both good, so I don't think it matters all that much.
Charlie Manuel was egregious with it for the Phillies in that late stretch. It was like they would do like 3 straight lefties: Howard, Utley, and somebody that I can't think of off the top of my head.
It still drives me crazy more though when it's the like inverse of that, and they insist on it when you're just like dropping your good hitters for no reason other than they hit like right or left-handed.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, yeah, I'd drop everybody a spot and like try to move Kike up to 2 or something, just to split that up a little bit. Whatever. That's just me. Favorite Reds bat?
Schebler. Votto at 3,700. Schebler at 3,300.
I would take Votto over Schebler, but it's pretty close.
My thing with Votto is I'm afraid he just walks 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty safe bet. That dude is... I used to love him, and then and I still do. He's like the perfect sabermetric hitter. But it's also incredibly frustrating in fantasy.
Yeah, he's the rare guy. Like you get it in basketball and stuff, but he's the rare guy in baseball where like he's just a better cash play than a tournament play normally.
Yeah,
normally that's just not a concept that exists in baseball.
Yeah, for sure. Jake asking how much Muncy I'll be getting. I'll be getting 0, absolutely 0. Mostly because this game is not on the FanDuel slate.
I'll just say his current eligibility on DraftKings is pretty nice though with second base.
Yeah, I would be much more likely to be getting him there with dual eligibility. And that's kind of the point of why I rarely get him. It's just really easy to find guys like him at that position.
Yeah.
All right.
With more of a track record.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm going to grab the main slate ownership right now. We're going to talk Yankees and Red Sox. Yankees 4.6 run implied. Main slate for FanDuel because we can't make this easy. 4.6 run implied total for the Yanks, 4.4 for the Red Sox. J.A. Happ against Nate Eovaldi. Dude, I feel like Eovaldi throws every day. I can't stop talking about this guy. Neither one of these guys grading out as particularly interesting for me. I had been getting quite a bit of Eovaldi over his first couple starts, which isn't really a great thing. Do you want to get to Happ or Eovaldi here?
Yeah, I remember that now. I jumped in Slack the other day, like after my flight, just to make fun of you for Eovaldi.
Great.
I think you were asleep. But
so.
no, I mean, I don't really see the need to get to either of these pitchers. Happ in a really tough spot against Boston. Tons of right-handed power there. Happ's not bad, but I just don't see the reason to do it. And then, Eovaldi, I'd be more inclined to get the Eovaldi than Happ. But again, with this only being on the FanDuel slate and being a one-pitcher site, I don't really see the need.
Okay. Ownership right now, no ownership whatsoever on J.A. Happ. No ownership whatsoever on Eovaldi. All 3 sites. So that makes it pretty easy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to run a crunch now since we didn't have ownership before. It wasn't all that important for me. Let's talk bats. I was like, why are these zeros coming up for DK? This needs to stop. I can't do this split slate stuff across all the sites. It really makes it difficult to talk about this stuff.
It makes it hard for content too.
Yeah. Because it matters. Like it's worse if this stuff happens in basketball because there's a way bigger trickle down effect. Like if a team's a good stack, they're just a good stack. It doesn't really matter what the slate means, but Red Sox a little bit chalkier than the Yankees on FanDuel here. Top 4 in particular for me, Benintendi, Betts, Pierce, Martinez. Love the 4 guys. Really hard for me to stack 3 outfielders from the same team. Well, not hard, but it just makes filling out the rest of that stack difficult. Any preferences here between the Yanks and Red Sox?
The Red Sox, they just have better hitters right now. You have almost the entire Yankees team on the disabled list. Guys like the good hitters that are left, Judge, Torres, Voit, like they're all righties against Eovaldi. You get the platoon advantage for guys like Betts and JD. So I would lean toward Boston for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I have the same preference as of right now. I will confirm that after I run my next crunch, which will happen probably as we're talking about the next game. Just delete out all the old junk. Update with the new junk. If I'm looking at individual grades for people, Judge, pretty clearly my favorite option on FanDuel. 4,400. I expect to get him quite a bit as like a one-off option. If we're talking Red Sox, $2,400 Steve Pearce stands out to me as a really nice option. And that is while they're on different slates, that's the perfect example of why I would get to like less Max Muncy, because Steve Pearce is going to get a date with a lefty and a $2,400 price tag, and
Yeah,
I think that's just more appealing.
yeah, really I like the 4K draft. Like I would have liked the 4K DraftKings price tag, but 2,400 on FanDuel is really, really good.
Yeah, there's so much up. I mean, for a guy that projects to have an ISO north of 200 just on the aggregate, we're not even talking about versus the lefty. No brainer play, in my opinion.
The problem would be that they could just pinch hit for him with Moreland in the 5th inning. But
Yep, very true. Very true. All depends how that game is going, I guess. I'd love to see how often what the pinch hit rates are in games that aren't close.
yeah,
Like, do you think that they just let guys go? Like, if it's, Red Sox up 6-1 heading into the 6th, are they more or less likely to pinch hit for Pierce? Or does it even matter?
probably less.
You would think. Any bats that you want to point out individually in this game?
No, not other than the obvious ones from Boston.
Okay. I'm with you. Moving on. Seems like a good time for everybody to hit that like button and subscribe. Very helpful for us. Very helpful for you. Mariners and Indians. 3.5 run implied total for the Mariners. 4 run implied total for the Indians, which is a 55% chance to win for Cleveland. Eric Swanson, whatever that is, going for Seattle. Carlos Carrasco going for the Indians. Carrasco, I assume, is he pretty clearly the best starter on the main slate, at least on FanDuel. How do you feel about Carrasco here against the Mariners?
I'm absolutely terrified.
Okay.
For one, I mean, the Mariners obviously have a good offense, but his velocity was down like 2+ miles an hour across every pitch last start.
Okay.
So depending on what site you look at, 1.5 miles an hour on Brooks on his fastball, a little bit more than that on Fangraphs. His other stuff was down too. Didn't get swinging strikes. I mean, he didn't even get out of the first inning, I don't think, in that start. But in the start before that, he didn't really get swinging strikes either. I'm just a little bit concerned. Like, it's probably nothing, but it's at least worth noting. Especially because he's facing a Seattle team that does have good hitters. Like against Toronto 2 starts ago, he had an 8.9% swinging strike percentage. Against Cleveland in his less than one, or against Kansas City, I mean, in his less than 1 inning, he had a 7% swinging strike percentage. Velocity was down a bit. I'm a little concerned about Carrasco.
Okay. 33% expected ownership for Carrasco on FanDuel today. Pointing that one out.
Another reason I'm concerned about Carrasco.
Yeah, he is the chalk option for today. I assume that is not shocking either.
No.
I mean, he grades out really well for me, so I understand it. That is very concerning to me as well. I don't know what to do with that information so quickly,
Right, exactly. Like I'm looking, basically it would come down to, is there anything around it that I can reasonably pivot to for a reason other than solely I'm scared because Carrasco looked completely broken last start.
Right.
Cole Hamels would be an option.
Cole Hamels second in ownership on FanDuel right now.
Kevin Gossman would be an option.
Yeah.
And then, that's about it. So it makes it hard to get complete. Like it makes it hard to get away from Carrasco. I think it would end up being a spot where I'm more likely to be like around the field or a little bit under,
I
but
agree.
not like full fading or anything like that.
I agree. So do you have any interest in Mariners bats here? Or is
Yeah.
it just easier to get away from Carrasco and not necessarily roster the Mariners?
I mean, in general, it's easier to just kind of get away from Carrasco, but the fact that the Mariners do have so many good hitters, and if Carrasco is broken, you're getting leverage on the field, and you're getting a good offense against a guy that isn't his best right now. So if you operated under that assumption, like you would want to be on Seattle, and it kind of just maximizes your upside overall across your entire group of lineups if you are kind of cutting back on Carrasco a little bit to get a little bit more Seattle. So just for leverage reasons and upside reasons, I would want some Seattle here.
Okay. They grade out really poorly for me.
Well, yeah, if Carrasco is perfectly healthy, then they should.
Yep. That's a great point. But I will get to some Seattle just because of the way I sort out my lineups. If Carrasco is indeed the chalk pitcher, I will naturally have a couple stacks on the opposite side of that. And I don't mind that in situations where I think the stack is also has some upside. So, like Haniger, Santana, Encarnacion, Bruce, Beckham even. They have some to a lot of pop. It's not just some hapless team. I mean, Malik Smith, Narvaez, Healy, Gordon. No, well, maybe not Healy. Smith, Narvaez, Gordon have no pop. So those would not be guys that I anticipate getting a ton of.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Indians bats here?
Don't know a whole lot about Eric Swanson. Trying to get that pulled up now.
He's like a nothing guy. 8 Ks per 9, 3 walks per 9, 471 FIP. He's no real prospect or anything like that. He's got a 40 future value via Fangraphs, plus fastball, potential for a league average slider, a league average changeup, average command. He's essentially nothing.
Okay. Not a lot of ground balls either in the minors. It doesn't look like. Yeah. So I mean, Jose Ramirez still cheaper than he should be. Not off to a good start this year, but we have a track record on Ramirez of him just being a great hitter. So I think he's a little too cheap. You get some value with guys like Hanley Ramirez or Carlos Gonzalez. Yeah, I mean, I have some interest in Cleveland, but I think it would mostly just be Jose Ramirez one-offs.
Okay. I'm refreshing my sheet right now with my crunch, so I'll be able to give an actual opinion on this game as soon as this stops spinning on my screen. If it ever does. There we go. Alrighty. Ooh, cool. 66% Carlos Carrasco. That went well. That went real well. Double the field on Indians exposure. Most of that going to Jose Ramirez at 3,600. Triple the field on Cargo. A little bit of Carlos Santana, a little bit of Hanley. They're fine. It's just kind of like a generally unappealing spot. I really need to dig into Carrasco after this, though, because don't really feel comfortable with 66%. I think that's probably a safe thing to deal with. Favorite bat in this game?
Ramirez.
Yeah, same. Alrighty, moving on. Tigers and Pirates. 4-run implied total for the Tigers. 4-run implied total for the Pirates. Coin flip game. Spencer Turnbull on the hill for Detroit. Trevor Williams going for Pittsburgh. I did not get to either guy on FanDuel. Don't get the sense that I would get to these guys really anywhere. Any interest in Turnbull or Williams?
Not really. I think they're both decent pitchers. I don't love taking pitchers against Pittsburgh because they don't strike out a lot. I don't love taking Trevor Williams because he's always priced or almost always priced more for his ability to prevent runs than for his strikeouts. And that's just not really a path that I like taking in DFS. It is a good matchup against Detroit. No real question there. But not a whole lot in this game I like because I think both pitchers are good, but I just don't find myself or expect to get to a lot of them as, pitching options.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's no crazy ownership going to the hitters. The Tigers are I mean, both of these teams are stupid cheap. the ownership that they do get is basically becoming because they're easy to fill in anywhere. Harrison and Castellanos for the Tigers, double-digit projected ownership. I totally understand why that would happen. Frazier, Marte, and Gong all in double digits on FanDuel. I understand why that's happening, but I have a little bit of those three guys that I just mentioned for Pittsburgh. I don't have any exposure really to the Tigers side, and I'm cool just being generally indifferent on everything here.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Like, Gong is 2,200 as a third baseman on FanDuel. Of course, he's going to get some ownership. Alrighty. I wish I had a favorite bat in this game.
Gong, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. Josh Harrison is a $7 second base option, projected to hit leadoff for the Tigers. That's incredibly appealing, I think, if you're playing, cash on Yahoo. But other than that, it's hard for me to want to point out anything here. Starling Marte projected for 20% ownership on FanDuel is kind of aggressive.
What was his price tag? I forgot.
He's 3,200.
Yeah, I mean, he's usually my favorite play from Pittsburgh, but he's also just way more expensive than everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, like he grades out the best, but I can't imagine wanting him in a fifth of my lineups either.
Yeah.
All right. Nats. Nationals and Giants, 4.6 run implied total for the Nats, 4 run implied total for the Giants. It's a 57% chance to win. Jeremy Hellickson going for Washington. Jeff Samardzija going for San Francisco. I have no interest whatsoever in Samardzija. I have no interest whatsoever in Hellickson, but he is getting 13% expected ownership. So talk to me about him.
Stack this game up, hitter-wise, I think. Hellickson's just not very good. It's a huge park upgrade for San Francisco, basically anytime they leave San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they're inexpensive. You get, Brandon Belt, who's actually a good hitter, who I love. He's 2,700 on FanDuel. He's 3,900 on DraftKings. He is, I don't have his Yahoo price in front of me at the moment, but I'm sure he's cheap there too. $14 on Yahoo. It's just an inexpensive San Francisco team in a park upgrade against a pitcher in Hellickson who isn't terrible, but he's not very good either. Doesn't miss a lot of bats. Gives up some power to lefties. Since last season, Hellickson has a 202 expected ISO, 343 expected WOBA to lefties. So I like the San Francisco side here. And then Samardzija, I don't think is a very good pitcher. It's a negative park shift for him. And you're getting, a good Washington offense with guys like Rendon and Soto in the middle of it. Ryan Zimmerman has some power. Yan Gomes for a catcher has power. Dozier's cheap. So there's a lot of ways you can go with Washington. I really like just having a lot of bats from this game.
Yeah, technically speaking, I'm over the field on both the Nats and the Giants. The Nats one's a little weird in that I'm way over the field on Dozier, and the rest of it is just kind of neutral. Dozier usually ends up being mildly chalky, and we're not projecting it right now, so I'll continue to take the $2,500 second baseman hitting second against someone that is terrible. Cool with me. But I'm with you. I have no real issue getting to whatever sort of volume of bats exist here. It's not as if the Giants are like a terribly appealing team. They're not a great set of hitters. Their aggregate ISO, based on the way that I have plate appearances projected here, is 139. Only Brandon Belt and Longoria are at 186 and 174. Everybody else is 140 or below, just as like a projection. That's brutal. Steven Duggar went yard yesterday, though, so good for him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Buster Posey, pretty chalky on Yahoo and DK. 24% on DraftKings, 39% on Yahoo, where he's a $9 catcher. Totally understand that. Favorite bat on the Nats?
Soto.
Agreed. Favorite bat on the Giants?
Belt.
Agreed. Posey and Belt having dual eligibility is so clutch.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that Posey's dual eligibility is first base, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else that we want to touch on here?
All the bats.
Yeah, I completely agree. Marlins. hosting the Cubs. 3.5 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.4 for the Cubs. It's a 59% chance to win for Chicago. Sandy Alcantara going for Miami. Cole Hamels going for Chicago. Alcantara, 26% expected ownership on DK, 25 on Yahoo, just 7 on FanDuel. That shouldn't be shocking. Cole Hamels, 54% ownership on Yahoo, 47% on DraftKings, 22 on FanDuel. How do you feel about Hamels to start with those sorts of ownership numbers?
I like Hamels a lot. Marlins are just really, really bad. It's a really good park to pitch in. Hamels, turned it around. He had a really bad 2017, but he came back last year and turned things around. So far this year, not pitching great against righties. 408 expected WOBA, 213 expected ISO, 8.7% swinging strike percentage. But still early in the season, and there's not really any power in this Marlins lineup. Good park to pitch in again. So I'm fine with getting Cole Hamels here.
Any worries that he's basically half owned?
I mean, not really.
Okay. I'm with you. Marlins aggregate ISO for this game, 132. Doesn't strike me as the type of game that if it goes really haywire, it's like a major problem. And I don't see any reason, I don't know, maybe you think differently. Do you see any reason to like stack against Hamels because of the ownership? Because I don't.
No, Marlins are just unbelievably bad.
Yeah, I'm with you. What do you think about Alcantara getting 26% ownership?
That seems absurd to me. I think he's got good stuff. I like him. I don't love taking guys against the Cubs just because there's not a ton of strikeouts in the lineup and there are some good hitters. It is a good park, obviously. I just don't feel that strongly about him, like one way or the other. I don't think he's a bad play, but I'm not like in love with him either. Since last season against lefties, he's allowed virtually no power, 0.07 expected ISO, 298 expected WOBA, but just a 9.7% swinging strike percentage to lefties. Doesn't really allow power to righties either, which is good. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a spot where I expect him to get like like teens in points a lot, but probably not like 22 plus or anything.
Okay. He grades out as the best guy below Odorizzi for me. So I guess I understand how everyone's getting there, but it's just kind of a mess of dudes that are unappealing. So I think it would just be easier to reallocate that to other guys. It is kind of a mess at the bottom half of SP2 though.
Yeah, I mean SP2, that's the thing. Like it is a mess. But again, it's baseball and there's so much variance. Like just because it's not like basketball where if you have like a dead position at the bottom and then there's one guy who's playing 30 minutes, you are pretty confident he's going to be the best of that group. Like whenever the field is just like kind of flocking to someone because there's a lack of other options, it just means that you can mix and match those other options and you're going to get the top play a pretty heavy or a pretty large amount of the time just by being overweight on a group of guys as opposed to the one that the field's picking.
Yep. We are not projecting a ton of ownership to Cubs bats. 4% on the aggregate on FanDuel, 6% on DK. I have more than double that. Particularly Zobrist, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, all 10% or higher for me. All no higher than 7 in the public. How do you feel about the Cubs bats?
I don't really like it that much. They're not cheap. They're in a bad park for power.
They're cheap on FanDuel, just pointing
okay,
out. But
yeah, that makes a difference. On DraftKings, they're not cheap. They're in a park that's bad for power. They're facing a pitcher who I do think has good stuff in Alcantara. So, yeah, I don't expect to have a lot of them.
Yeah, Zobrist 2,500 projected to lead off. Schwarber 2,900. Most expensive of that 5-man group that I listed was Baez 4,200. You're also getting a shortstop in that deal, so way more advantageously priced. And I love the spread of hitters. 2 outfielders, first, third, and short. Makes it really easy to combine all 5 of those guys into different stacks. Yeah, I'm going to have a decent amount of the Cubs today, and I don't have to get too crazy if they're unowned. Favorite Cubs bat?
Baez, I guess.
Okay. Starlin Castro revenge narrative?
Yeah.
I love the look back.
Jorge Alfaro Alvaro would be my favorite Marlins bet.
Okay, I wasn't even going to ask. Josh, do you ever go with your gut, or you just listen to what your fancy formula says? Love you, legalized. No, I don't go with my gut. My gut is dumber than everything else. I'm confident in that. Rays and Orioles, 4.6 run implied total for the Rays, 3.4 for the Orioles. It's a 64% chance to win for the Rays. I believe Chirinos is going to be the guy coming in today for the Rays. David Hess on the hill for Baltimore. Neither guy really getting any love. Chirinos is 8K on DK. Yeah, you can safely skip that. Any interest in David Hess here?
Not outside of the fact that he's 5,600 and he's pitching in Tampa. I mean, SP2 is bad. He's one of the guys where if I get, like, I assume he has no ownership, and if I get a little bit above no ownership, I'm fine. But there's nothing that, makes it like, oh, I think this is a good spot for Hess.
Yeah, I'm with you. 5% expected ownership right now for Hess. There's a lot of swing and miss in this projected Rays lineup, though. So in a way, it's kind of appealing.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of swing and miss in David Hess.
Right, that's the problem. This could be a really nice spot for someone else.
Yeah. His slider hasn't been as good this year either. Like, movement is different than last year. Swings and misses haven't been there. It's been getting blasted so far. And that's like the one pitch that last year you could actually look to as, okay, if he can get in good counts, he can like get people with this pitch. Yeah. The movement hasn't been quite the same. It's been getting hammered. So that's a little bit concerning as well.
David Hess, projected FIP via Steamer, 5.83. Tad high.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. Lots of love for a couple of the Rays bats on DK. Not as much on FanDuel. They just have so many outfielders. I didn't really get to these guys, which is kind of surprising. So how do you feel about the Rays bats, particularly Meadows, Pham, Choi, Lau, and Zunino, all 14% or higher in ownership?
Those were going to be the ones that I said I really liked.
Yeah, perfect.
So, I mean, they're expensive. They're expensive, or some of them are expensive, which on a slate without really good SP2s is kind of tough. Like 4,900 for Meadows in this park isn't the best, but the $3,700 price tag on G-Man Choi is appealing on DraftKings. Actually has the highest ISO on the team over the last couple of seasons against right-handed pitching. Mike Zunino at 3,300. He's a guy that strikes out or he hits the ball hard, and Hess doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. So it gives you some upside at catcher. Whereas like people are going to pay 3,300 for Buster Posey, which I think is fine. But Zunino has more home run upside than Buster Posey does. There's not really any arguing that.
Yeah.
So
he just doesn't really do anything else.
Right. Yeah. Which is fine with me in tournaments.
Yep.
So, I think that's fine. Brandon Lau has been a really good hitter since coming to the majors. He's a little more expensive than I would like, kind of like Meadows is, but I think it's a high upside spot because Hess isn't very good, and we talk about it a lot, but bullpens in general are really good now, and you'll see your stack, put up 10 runs in the first couple of innings and then just die out because bullpen arms are so good. The Orioles aren't like that. If you get the Hess early, you're just getting more bad arms behind them.
Yeah. Actually, well, to be fair, you're probably getting something better than Hess, but not as good as the average team.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you're bringing in someone that's worse than David Hess, you should not have a bullpen job. Yeah, I didn't really get to much Rays. They're not as appealing on FanDuel. I'd say Choi is probably my favorite of anybody here, but again, it's really easy to just find first baseman in advantageous matchups. I'll have some, but nothing crazy. And then Zunino is just not important for me on FanDuel. $9 on Yahoo, though. I do like the idea of using Zunino as some sort of one-off if you want. I wish he would have been better.
Yeah.
Followed him a lot.
So do my DFS over the last 3 years.
Any Orioles bats for you?
No.
Okay. To the Braves we go. 5-run implied total for the Braves. 4-run implied total for the Diamondbacks. 60% chance to win for Atlanta. Kevin Gausman going for the Braves. Zach Godley going for the Diamondbacks. I don't have much interest in Godley across the board. Public is at 10% or less on all three sites. On the side for Gausman, 39% expected ownership on Yahoo. He is the fifth most expensive pitcher. He's 8,800 on FanDuel. I only got 4%. Kind of bums me out, but it's not that great of a matchup. 30% expected ownership going to Gausman on DraftKings. He's the second most expensive pitcher, third most projected ownership. How do you feel about Gausman or Godley?
I wish Gausman was projected for lower ownership, but I do like him. He wasn't great in his start against the Mets, but looking at this, underlying stuff, I still don't care about that. He threw his splitter / changeup, whatever you want to call it, 40+% of the time again. That's a pitch that he has got to throw to be DFS relevant. And through his first 2 starts this year, he's been over 40% both games. So that's really good to see. It's good to see that he's actually throwing it to righties. When he was with Baltimore, he would often just refuse to throw it to righties, and he'd throw his slider, which is a terrible pitch. 9 times out of 10, it's just bad. But he's thrown the splitter 39% to righties so far this year, 46% to lefties, 28% swinging strike percentage on it to lefties, 9.8% to righties, but no power allowed on it so far, which is good. So I like the stuff that he's throwing. In both starts, he's had a double-digit swinging strike percentage, and he's had an O-swing percentage above 40%, which is really good. Not a ton of good hitters in the Arizona lineup, so I wish he was a little bit lower owned, but I do like Gausman. On the other side, I don't like taking guys against Atlanta at all. Zach Godley is very, very hit or miss. The one spot where I do think that it's kind of appealing is, on DraftKings, he's 7,800, and Sandy Alcantara is 7,200. If you're getting over twice as much ownership on Alcantara as you are Godley, I don't think that Godley's that much worse.
Yeah, I have them as essential equals. Godley has he doesn't grade out as well on a median projection standpoint, but he has kind of a higher upside in a GPP. So I have no problem making that sort of pivot based on ownership. I didn't get to much on the Braves bats. Albies, Donaldson, Freeman, Acuna getting a little bit of love on DK, and I think they should. Going second, third, first, outfield, 1, 2, 3, 4 at relatively decent price tags, outside of a pretty big one for Acuna. No problem with that stack, but I don't see myself getting to much total Braves. Kind of surprising, though, with a 5-run implied total.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'll get there either. Godley is or has been good at holding runners in his career, which takes a little bit of the appeal away from guys like Albies and Acuna. He normally, when he gets in trouble, it's walks and stuff. He doesn't give up a ton of home runs. 0.81 home runs per 9 last year, 0.87 home runs per 9 in 2017. It's normally more of just, your stack scores runs, but it's guys getting 9, 11, 13 points. So not my favorite spot to be at.
Okay. Yeah, I feel the same way there.
Plus, Albie's just not as good from the left side as the right side throughout his minor league career and the majors so far.
Yeah, he mashes lefties. His split rating, and using all of his data from last year and this year, is a plus 11% boost when he faces a lefty too as well.
Yeah, it's so big that I think he maybe should just be hitting right-handed. But
for real,
I mean, the problem there obviously is he's probably never seen a slider break away from him in his life. But
that's true.
So it's not that easy to just say, oh yeah, why wouldn't he always bat right-handed? Because it's a totally different experience. But those are some of the more dramatic switch hitter splits.
Favorite bat on the Braves?
Acuna.
Favorite bat on the Diamondbacks?
Peralta.
Okay.
Or Christian Walker, but Peralta being an outfielder, I guess, puts him a little bit ahead.
Inciarte revenge narrative?
Yeah, of course. Dansby Swanson, too.
Oh, yeah. Let's get out of here. Twins hosting the Blue Jays.
Hang on. Caleb Joseph facing his former pitcher.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll get a beer afterwards. 4.6 run implied total for the Twins, 3.9 for the Blue Jays. The 58% chance to win for the Minnesota Jakes. Speaking of the Jakes, Jake Odorizzi on the hill for Minnesota. Trent Thornton, who pitches every day for Toronto, apparently, going for the Blue Jays. I got to 0 Thornton. No one's getting to him on FanDuel. No one's getting to him on DK. No one's getting to him on Yahoo. Odorizzi, on the other hand, just getting a tad ownership. 53% on Yahoo, 47% on DraftKings, 12% on FanDuel. Talk to me about Odorizzi.
If the weather cooperates, I really like him. Weather does not look particularly good, but hopefully they just start late and then they're good to go. If he goes, I mean, Toronto is just bad offensively. Odorizzi's been perfectly fine this year, and the price tag's appealing. Like, he's my favorite SP2 if that game plays.
Yeah. He grades out really well to me. I'm not sure that he should be 5 times as owned as Zach Godley.
Right.
But like, he is the guy that should be getting that ownership. I totally understand that piece. What about Thornton? Too expensive?
Yeah, he's more expensive than I would like. I'd have a little bit of interest just like as a tournament pivot, but there's not a lot of strikeouts in the Minnesota lineup, and there are some good hitters. He's struggled with lefties so far through his first couple of starts, which isn't great to see either in this spot. Not a bad park to hit in either. So, scary spot for Thornton.
Yeah, not that appealing. I assumed I would get to a little bit more of Twins bats, but I just didn't here. I guess that's the respect for Thornton on the opposite end. Do you have any interest in the Twins bats?
I think they're a little bit cheaper than they should be, at least on DraftKings. Like Kepler at 43, Polanco 45, Cruz and Rosario at 45. That gives you a pretty healthy amount of upside at price points where you can still get. You don't have to go like dumpster diving at pitcher. So that's kind of the difference between like them and the Braves for me. Like the Braves, you have to pick up $5,200 Acuna and $4,800 Freeman to get like your optimal stack. Whereas on Minnesota, there's no one above $4,500.
No, that's a good point. I do like Cruz grades out really well for me. Kepler, as you mentioned. I would have liked to say Rosario, but that gives you 3 outfielders, so it's probably Crone plus something else, or you're just using them as like a 3-man. But I think they grade out really nicely. I don't really have much exposure to the Twins side. On the Blue Jays side, I'm getting to quite a bit of Billy McKinney, as I do every single time that he is projected to hit leadoff. Any issues with McKinney, or are you like a McKinney guy by any chance?
I wouldn't say I'm a McKinney guy. I think he's better than $3,500.
Yeah, $2,500 on FanDuel in the leadoff spot. Just another one of those things where I end up getting that kind of guy a lot. And Odorizzi projects for a 4.82 FIP via Steamer, so there's some offense to be had.
I don't buy that for a second. But...
Really? Sorry, I'm choking on Gatorade. I wanted to respond. Why not?
I just think that he's improved over the last couple of years, and I don't really care about his previous stats because he's completely changed the way that he pitches.
Makes sense. What were his stats like last year? I want to see how bad I'm missing something here.
340 expected WOBA to lefties, 336 to righties. Expected ISO 195 to lefties, 180 to righties last year. Double-digit swinging strike percentages against both sides.
Yeah, that FIP is probably high. Strikeout rate, walk rate both look fine in comparison to where he was last year. This home run rate, crazy low? No. He was super vulnerable to the home run before that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably underestimating Odorizzi a little bit from a FIP perspective.
He used to be a reverse splits guy that just gave up monstrous home runs to righties like all the time.
Yeah.
But then he added in a slider and curveball, or not so much a curveball, but more so a slider. He threw it 35% last year. That made him better against righties.
I'm happy that I don't get to more Blue Jays bats outside of McKinney and Grichuk, and most of those are just based on price. I would say that I think the Blue Jays look pretty appealing on Yahoo as a stack. They have 3 guys at the bottom of the order that are all just at $7. Most expensive hitter in the entire lineup is $22 Freddie Galvis, which I would have no problem leaving off. There's some power here, so I think they look like a really nice underappreciated stack on Yahoo.
Yeah. I was gonna say at least like mini stacking on DraftKings, you do get upside from like Grichuk, Smoke, McKinney. I really wish Freddie Galvis would stop hitting second.
Yeah.
But and so the other thing that sucks about Toronto is that Tellez and Smoke are two of the hitters that you want, and they play the same position.
Yeah.
So FanDuel you can get them, but DraftKings and Yahoo you can't. So that makes it tough.
Smoke 3,600 on FanDuel, Tellez 2,600. So if you need to save money or you have extra money, you can flip flop there. I see them as relatively comparable.
Or you can play both.
Or just play them both. 2 games to go. Rangers and Angels. 5.3 run implied total for the Rangers, 5.2 for the Angels. It's a 52% chance to win for Texas. Lance Lynn going for the Rangers. Matt Harvey going for the Angels. Do you anticipate having either one of these pitchers?
Not a lot. Like the Angels suck outside of their top 3 hitters. And so Lynn is kind of appealing as a tournament pivot. And then Harvey, I absolutely hate the matchup, but he is really cheap and there are strikeouts in the Texas lineup. Um, Certainly not advocating him like as a for him as like a strong play or anything, but um, he's cheap enough where I'd probably end up with a little bit just because.
Okay. On FanDuel, I don't anticipate having either one of these guys. On Yahoo, they're not getting any love. Lynn getting 9% ownership on DK, nothing going to Harvey. So, I mean, it's clearly the most advantageous hitting environment of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say this game and the Washington game are my 2 favorite games for hitters.
Yeah. Both teams very chalky across all 3 sites. No part of that should be terribly shocking. I am pretty sizably underweight on Texas and a little bit overweight on the Angels. So let's start on the Texas side. What stands out to you most in a Texas stack?
I love Texas here. There's just so many lefties. You should have 5 lefties in the top 6, and the one righty is Elvis Andrus, who, difficult strikeout will put the ball in play. Harvey, so far this year, has actually been getting a lot of swings and misses on his changeup to lefties, which is good to see for Harvey. Even since he kind of reemerged as a decent pitcher last year, he had really, really struggled with lefties. So it's good to see a swing and miss pitch so far, but that hasn't translated into actually having success against them. Through his first couple of starts, a 5.12 expected WOBA, 363 expected ISO. So the swings and misses are there, but he's also just still giving up massive power. And that's not really great when you go into Texas against guys like Shin-Soo Choo and Gallo and Mazzara. So, Strubo Cabrera has been hitting well also. So really dangerous spot for Harvey. I like the Rangers here. They are priced up a bit, which makes it kind of tough, but I love Texas, as I'm sure most people do.
Yeah. I assume that I'm not getting to them simply because of their ownership, and that's why I came in a little bit lighter. But I would have thought that I would have got a little bit lighter on the Angels too, and I kind of went heavier. I do have exposure to them, and the top of the order: Chu, Santana, Mazzara, and Gallo, grading out really, really well for me on all 3 sites. I will be there. I'll have exposure to them. This is not any single spot I want to fade. Matt Harvey could get really, really tagged here. But as of right now, I prefer the Angels. Calhoun will be chalky, as he normally is. Trout will be Trout because he's Trout. Justin Bour, $2,700 first baseman. If I have to point out another example of why I don't get to a lot of Max Muncy, here's another one. And then, no problem going to Andrelton Simmons. If he's part of a stack and you're only paying $2,800 for a shortstop, I think that's very appealing. And even Pujols is a guy that I'll still get to. Man, I feel like that guy is 600 years old.
He looks like it.
Yeah.
Plays like it.
I mean, he was... I just think back to those first couple of years when he was going bonkers, and it was just like, we don't even know how old Albert Pujols is. And now he's legitimately, 36, I would guess, something in that neighborhood, 38.
I thought he was older, yeah, like 38.
And he could be 45.
Right.
So kudos to him for still being in spitting distance of a league average hitter. What do you think about the Angels today?
I'm lower on them. I have respect for Lynn. You go back to the start of last season, he's always been really, really good against righties, and that hasn't changed. Since last season, 288 expected WOBA, 123 expected ISO with a 13.2% swinging strike percentage to righties. And, obviously not a lot of strikeouts in the Angels lineup, but there's not a lot of good hitters either. And then against lefties, actually, since last year, a 123 expected ISO as well, lower swinging strike percentage. And I do like Calhoun. I do like Bohr because they have power. It is a positive park shift, and they should be able to put the ball in play against Lynn. But I just don't think he's a bad pitcher. I don't think the Angels have good hitters. So I'm much higher on the Texas bats than the Angels bats. I think that, assuming the Angels are going to have ownership again like they did last night, I would rather be elsewhere and then just mix in some mini stacks with guys in the top 4.
Okay. Yeah, I won't have much of the bottom piece of this lineup, but I'll be working in some combination of Calhoun, Trout, and Bohr and a lot of stuff, or at least as of right now. Favorite bat in this game?
Joey Gallo.
Hard to disagree with you there. Final game, then we'll get out of here. A's 4.4 run implied total. Astros 4.6. It's a 51% chance to win for the Stros. Frankie Montas going for Oakland. Wade Miley going for Houston. Neither pitcher is appealing to me on any of the sites. Do you have any interest in Montas or Miley?
Give me some Wade Miley.
Really?
Yeah. 6,600 on DraftKings where you need the SP2. $600 less than Alcantara. I assume projected for much lower ownership given the A's
1%.
Yeah. The strikeouts probably won't be there. He's just not a strikeout pitcher, but he's completely changed the way he pitches, and he is good at getting outs. Since last season, he's thrown his cutter, slider, whatever you want to call it, to right-handed hitters 45% of the time. He's allowed a 263 expected WOBA, a .082 expected ISO on 532 of them, 9.8% swinging strike percentage. But then he also throws a changeup with a 16% swinging strike percentage, almost 20% of the time. This season, he's even upped his cutter or slider usage, whatever, to 53%. He's actually gotten a little bit more in the way of swinging strikes as well. He's just done a really, really good job of limiting damage to righties. And at this price tag, I hate rostering guys that I don't expect to get a lot of strikeouts because strikeouts are the easiest way to make up for, a couple of earned runs. But I just don't really see a ton of strikeout upside for like Sandy Alcantara. I don't see a ton of strikeout upside for Lance Lynn. I don't really know where the strikeouts are coming from for this entire mid-range. I'll take really low-owned Wade Miley, who I think is a pretty good pitcher.
That is not what I expected you to say here whatsoever. No fear at all about this A's lineup?
I mean, yeah, they have good hitters, but we're talking about a guy that gives up literally zero power to righties. So
that's a good point. In a park that is not really great for power.
Yeah. And a park so it can be an annoying park when you're taking a strikeout pitcher because so many foul balls get caught.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about someone like Miley, who is cheap and you're more so hoping that you get 6+ innings out of him and, a handful of strikeouts, a park that, not only limits home run power, but also limits offensive production because you have to hit the ball 500 feet just to get it into the stands in foul territory. It's appealing for guys like him.
Okay. I just wasn't ready for that, but all of that is incredibly important information, in my opinion. Makes me want to. Well, I don't get the sense that I'll be getting too much Wade Miley on FanDuel one way or the other. But as an SP2, I like that option. Do you have any interest in Oakland bats, though?
I mean, they clearly have a ton of upside, like Matt Chapman at 4,400. Chris Davis is on another planet. In lineups where I don't have Miley, it's not like I'm shying away from these guys. But I do think that, for one, if you're just like blindly taking projection systems, you probably have Wade Miley projected as a worse pitcher than he is right now.
Yeah.
And that will make your A's project higher than they probably should. And for two, because that's what most people do, you're probably going to see a little bit higher ownership on A's bats than you should.
Basically no ownership coming to the A's bats right now,
okay,
which kind of surprises me. And I didn't get any, which also surprises me because I don't like Wade Miley grades out for me as a relatively average pitcher.
Yeah.
The specifics of the matchup, I think, should probably give him a little bit of a bump, but I didn't even get a lineup with Chris Davis. And that feels like incredibly wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like Davis at 5K is nice. 3,900 for Piscotty. There's some appealing price tags on Oakland.
Yeah.
It's just I don't love the matchup.
Most appealing price tag on Oakland right now, Mark Canha in the 2-hole on FanDuel, $2,200 outfielder.
Yeah,
kind of crazy. So if that ends up happening, he'd be a guy I'd like. On the Astros side, also not getting to much exposure here. They're a little popular at the top. The Springer, Altuve, Bregman trio on DraftKings. That's should be the least surprising thing I'll ever say. I didn't get to much from Houston. I think that I'd be more likely to have like a little bit of Correa, Bregman, Altuve or something as filler. Well, filler's probably not the right word. It's just not that appealing to me. It's a tough park. I'm surprised the run total is as high as it is.
Yeah, I was just say I really don't even mind Frankie Montas as a low-owned SP2 either. Against probably like 7 righties.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not normally. I really, really hate taking guys that I don't think have a lot of strikeout upside, and that applies to both pitchers in this game. But find me an SP2 that does have strikeout upside in their matchup. Like Godley probably has the best strikeout stuff out of the SP2 options, but he's facing Atlanta, so I'm more willing to just kind of take chances on cheap guys and hope that the balls that get put in play get hit at people.
Do you have our Slack open?
No.
The most recent person that just joined Slack is named Nick Cannon.
Nice.
That's just not as funny to you as it is to me, I guess.
I thought you were going to tell me that Nick Cannon said something, and so I was like waiting for you to tell me what he said.
If he said that your pops don't like me, it was Nick Cannon's first track. That was my jam for a bit. I do want to know a little bit about what Mariah Carey is like, but other than that, I'm good. Oh, alrighty. We are done. 14 up, 14 down. Later today, Lofty will have the deep dive out early afternoon, I assume. Deeper dive from 5 to 6, live before lock, and this time I'm pretty confident I will be there. Myself and Jake. Feeling pretty good today. We're all feeling better than I did. So that's what we've got on tap for today from a baseball perspective. Eddie Fear will be around for the NBA later tonight. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern, live before lock PGA edition, Ben Raza, Jason Roslin talking the RBC Heritage. Buckle up for that one. That's it. I don't got anything else. What about you?
No, I just wish that A's game wasn't the last game on the slate so that I wasn't going out by saying I like Wade Miley and Frankie Montas.
There you go. Another perfect soundbite. Thanks for joining us, everybody. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose. Shout out to Yahoo for being our presenting sponsor. Tune in on Friday for the Yahoo-specific strategy show in the early afternoon. Myself and EMAC breaking down Friday's slate. Yahoo only. So join us for that. And that's it. Best of luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later.